Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee, Books, and Rain. I'm Rachel with my coffee that I am slowly but surely drinking to the point that I have actually let it get kind of cold. So shame on me. I do have books and my reviews and no rain, but again, I'm always hopeful about that rain coming. We could definitely use it right now. I'm surprised the grass doesn't look like scorched. But let us just go ahead and dive into the book of the moment, and it is The Miner's Myth by Russell W. Johnson. Now, this is it does say, oh gosh, what does it say? Oh, a Mountaineer Mystery. And it says that on the cover of the book in the picture, but it doesn't say it on the Goodreads page that it's a Mountaineer's Mystery. So just kind of wanted to highlight that. Now, it does say it at the top of my Goodreads. It says Mountaineer Mystery Book Number 3. So when I picked this book up, I did not realize that it was a book number 3. I will say that that was probably my bad for not paying attention to that. However, it does feel as though this book can stand alone independently of the other two, even though reading the other two potentially will give us more of the backstory with regarding to some of the events that are mentioned. So, let us just dive into the summary of this one and we will go from there. Sometimes the devil you know is better than the one you don't. That's a hard truth Sheriff Mary Beth Kane is reluctant to come to terms with. After ridding southeastern West Virginia of her mother Mamie's hillbilly crime syndicate, Mary Beth has created a power vacuum that's fueled by a better financed and much more ruthless drug operation headquartered out of Detroit. The Motor City mobsters are led by Leonard Velino, a vicious killer with a long history of intimidating or eliminating all who oppose him. Witnesses, jurors, even cops. Velino is a man that the legal system isn't equipped to handle. But Sheriff Kane has never been much constrained by the rules herself, and she has certainly never backed down from a fight. She is willing to go to any lengths to deal with her Detroit problem. The question, can Mary Beth protect her community without becoming a criminal herself? So, it does say by this one particular author that the miner's myth, and it is a miner as in like a pickaxe miner, like down in a tunnel, rather than like a young person. So a miner, E-R, not a minor, like N-O-R. So minor with that, because it does take place in kind of like that Appalachian kind of location, so mountainous and moonshine and things of that nature. Now, it says Russell W. Johnson adds another piece to his sprawling Appalachian quilt chronicling the hard-nosed exploits of West Virginia Sheriff Mary Beth Kane. At turns gritty, funny, and bloody, Johnson's latest features an indelible rogues gallery of characters and the rugged rural community they call home, recalling not only Brian Panowich Bull Mountain, but the works of David Joy and Greg Iles. Don't miss it. So, I'm not certain if you've read any of those, but personally, I like a good murder mystery, which is why I picked this up. Felt like it had some cop drama, felt like it's had some procedural things they talked about, as well as having some level of mystery to solve, like to figure out what's going on. It is approximately 290 pages in the Kindle edition. It was published July 22nd of 2025, so I'm going to be a little bit behind that because I do believe I had, looking at my July calendar. Do you see how full that is? I don't think there's any days that are blank. I had a lot of books at the end of July, and I do apologize that this one, it was supposed to be read and recorded on the 23rd. I had a little note right there. However, I think I substituted it with something else that I finished the audiobook for, and so now I'm going to be releasing this one a little bit late, so I do apologize. But honestly, still pretty good. I'm still, like, this one was definitely in the alley that I was looking for. Like I said, it did have some procedural kind of cop slang, lawyer terms, things of that nature. We've got some courtroom things going on as well. And so, I don't know why I just opened that. But let us dive into my thoughts. So we kind of start out with Mary Beth on trial. She has been placed on administrative leave for a crime that they feel like she's done. And so the prosecutor is really coming down hard and wants her to tell him, some various aspects of what did she do, how did she act in various situations. So sorry, had to step away to get the little man who, just as I was starting to really get into that, he decided to start making his little noises. So happy to go get him. But so the prosecutor wants her to tell him and the jury, as well as the people in the courtroom, various aspects of how she conducts her investigations. How by the book does she do it? And, is she fully in the right with those sorts of things? So we do get a pretty quick-paced kind of crime drama where we do flash back to some events previously before this trial is happening, because again, the book primary setting, it does take place in the courtroom, I guess, where like a lot of it is flashbacks, but Mary Beth is on trial in this courtroom for her procedural work as the sheriff to see, really, has she now crossed the line and become a criminal? Like, is she still qualified to be the local sheriff? Now, she did become the sheriff after her husband Bill passed away, and I believe he was potentially killed. But again, I didn't read the first two books to fully know. But it does sound like Mary Beth may have come from a family called the McRae County Mafia that was run by her mom, Mamie. So that kind of sucks for Mary Beth. I think it's probably why Mary Beth has seen everyone else in her family fall to corruption. And she is adamant not to let evil or wrongdoing in those sorts of ways, triumph over, the rule of the law. However, it does seem as though she takes a bit of vigilante justice in the way she executes some of her sheriffly duties. And I don't mean execute as in the way you may think it. She does not seem to pull the trigger without justified cause. What her life's in danger, someone else's life is in danger. She really does try to follow the rule of the law. However, it seems as though the laws of the country, are a little bit flimsy here in Appalachia, and so sometimes justice takes on a slightly different form, at least in Mary Beth's eyes and mind. So in this particular book, we do get a couple mentions of a couple of things that have happened in the past, and some regarding her mom, Mamie, some regarding her brother. We do kind of just get those brief glimpses, which is what I assume the other books are about. I did not read those yet, but at least the first one seems to be about potentially a cold case of someone that she knew that she wants to try to figure out, and then the second one is about her brother. When I was reading the summaries of each of those to just kind of get an idea of where some of those pieces of the story fell, that's what I was interpreting. So Mary Beth has a son named Sam, and her husband Bill has passed. She's been dating this guy named Patrick, who seems to be a criminal defense lawyer. But even though she's like, yeah, you're my boyfriend, she'll agree, okay, fine. And he's all like, yeah, you can stay the night. You know, he's really, like, I guess he's into her. The bad thing is when she starts into, like, kind of looking into this Valino guy, he is in, well, Patrick's not in deep, but he does kind of get in a bit deep. But Valino is an absolute, like, she kind of describes him as kind of looking like Voldemort, which, I'm sorry, like, if you have any resemblance to Voldemort, there's potentially a bad guy streak in there. I don't know. Maybe it's just that the evil is corrupting absolutely. I'm not sure. But this guy sounds like a terrible person. So, somebody does give Mary Beth a tip at one particular point that she follows up on, but Valino seems to have gotten word that she found out. So either she was double crossed or Valino knew that someone snitched, and so he made it seem like, oh, I don't know what you were talking about, Sheriff. And so when she went to do this bust, thinking it was going to be a drug bust from Detroit, like perhaps like on this equipment, it wasn't there. And so she was kind of made to look like a fool. Then someone else gets kidnapped, and the local priest, he I guess points out Valino in the lineup, like in a I guess it's a, they do like 6 different pictures of people, and you have to pick which one it is. Instead of like putting people in a lineup, it's just 6 different pictures. And one of the one he pointed at as being the one who pulled the trigger was Valino. Well, that's not great for Valino because the guy who is pointing him out is a priest. But Valino, he's like, well, like, there's no evidence. So like, there's all these different situations where it's like, yeah, he's a really crappy dude. The bad thing is there's not just a ton of evidence to support going after him, even though everyone knows he's doing all these really shitty things. So then it comes to Patrick, and Mary Beth and Patrick are having they're dating. They are dating. There's nothing untoward about it. They are dating. But Valino finds out because he knows people. He knows everything about people that he wants to find out. And he goes and intimidates Patrick to make him like be his lawyer. And he's like, you're the one who's pretty much, you're sleeping with her. You get to rip her a new one and get me off the hook for this murder trial. Patrick doesn't want to, but he knows that Valino is a really bad dude. So he tries to do his best by his client, but he's also, I don't want to say throwing the case, as in like lobbing a softball in order for her side of it, the prosecutor side of it, to maybe hit a home run with this. But I think he knows that if he does try to do that, Valino will know, and then everybody that Patrick loves may be like their life is on the line. So that level of intimidation is real, like real. And it just keeps getting better from there, in my personal opinion. And like, we have lots to uncover and resolve throughout this book. Again, we are kind of listening to this case unfold while Mary Beth is on the stand, kind of recounting her tale, but we're also getting those flashbacks of the scenes that are happening as she's recounting them. We do learn, I think, that the miner's myth is that I guess if a miner saw a redhead, it was going to be bad luck or something like that. And I don't know if it was because maybe Mary Beth has red hair, but there's something to that effect. It gets mentioned pretty early, like I want to say within the first 10 or 15% of the book that that gets mentioned. Still not 100% certain, like, what the full context of that is, if I'm just missing a little bit of something there, but it does seem as though Mary Beth is bad luck for bad guys in this particular story. I love that she comes off as like this hard ass, but she's a really caring mom. She seems to be a pretty decent girlfriend, even though if like I would 100% like, I'm so sorry, Patrick, that you decided that you wanted to support the bad guy, but um I can't date you if you're going to be their defense lawyer. Just especially if she's a sheriff and he's like trying to get this guy off. Like, I know he doesn't want to do it, but still, like he would have to make it up so hard, like so hard. But I think with all of that, I just want to let you know it it was really intriguing. I had a pretty good time with this book, which is why I am interested in reading the other ones. Sometimes I'm left on the fence, like, do I want to read the other ones to see if they were better than this one? Or am I just that invested in the characters that I really want to continue hearing more of their stories? Sometimes it's the fact that I want to just see if the other ones had more intrigue to them. But this one, I really like the characters. I really like the setting. I like this crime drama. This used to be some of my favorite shows to watch on TV. I know, wild, but I like to watch like what CSI and NCIS and all of those shows. I used to watch those pretty frequently, and Law and Order. Just and so I guess this gave me some satisfaction of having aspects of that, but also having it set in Appalachia, which is, I guess, I don't want to say a lawless land, but definitely a land where they make their own laws. So I found it intriguing, and I think I can give it about a 4.25 stars for sure. I read it pretty quickly, so I think if it sounds like something up your alley, that you will too. But with all of that being said, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. If you have not liked and subscribed already, I hope you will. Little Leo is just about asleep. He's got his little head poking up down here at the bottom, but I think he also wants to go outside, so we're probably going to go in a minute. And he's already had dinner, so don't let him fool you, and don't let him tell you that he's hungry, because he just had his dinner. But thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and I will see you all on the next page. Have a great one. Bye.